Hello and welcome to Replica Air Guns. Today we're looking at 4 low-cost Replica CO2 BB guns. And these guns are all from Umarex. So let's go through the guns right now. We have the H&K Usp. We have the Makarov. We have the Colt Defender. It's a compact gun. And we also have the Smith & Wesson M&P. Now quickly, let's go over some of the similarities. They are all in about the $50 to $70 price range. That's Canadian currency, so you might be about $40 to say $60 or $70 in US funds. Depends on where you go. If you go into a walk-in store or online, the prices can vary. They're all 4.5 millimeter BB, so it's steel BB. They're not airsoft. They're 4.5 millimeter steel BB guns. They all use CO2, and they vary quite a bit in their build materials and how they all function. Now, none of these guns are actually blowback guns. If you've watched a few of my reviews, then you probably more than likely have seen that I really go for the blowback guns. I guess I've been a little bit of an air gun snob, and I've kind of stayed away from some of these lower cost BB guns, mainly because I don't mind spending a little bit more money to get the blowback or some of the, maybe in some cases, more metal and some more features. But that said, you know, like sometimes you just want to go and spend $50 on a gun. And as I'm realizing here, some of these guns really aren't too bad. They're pretty good. So we're going to go through them all. I'm going to compare some of the features. Alright, first of all, I just want to mention the packaging a little bit. And with these guns, most of them came in the clear sort of bubble packaging. It's a clear plastic wraparound packaging, with the exception of the Makarov, the one you're looking at right now. And it came in the Makarov box, like this. So I'm going to show this one because it did come a little bit different. And that's sort of worth noting. Now next I want to get into some of the build materials. And so what are these guns made out of? And we'll just do a quick walk around and take a look at them. So this is the Makarov here. And you can see here that it's a nice little gun. It's almost all metal with a few exceptions. This is plastic here. And of course the pistol grip is plastic. I believe the trigger's metal, feels metal. The safety is actually plastic. We'll get a little bit more into safety later. Build quality, not too bad. It does have a slide that is, I guess you call rakeable, and so that's worth noting. Put it back on safety. There we go. Next we have the Colt Defender, and this is a nice little BB gun, and it's almost all metal, which is nice. Here's the other side of it. Now the whole gun's metal, with the exception again of the actual plastic grips. Okay, we'll get a little bit into some more of the realism, but a couple things worth noting on this gun is, you know, it's mostly molded. All the parts are molded into it, like even the hammer is molded, all the releases. The only actual working part would be this little, it would normally be the magazine release, but it's actually on this gun, it gives you access to your CO2. One thing that I do want to mention on this gun is that this looks like it's metal here, but in actuality this is a decal that they put on here, so it's not an interior metal barrel. A little bit showy, I guess, sort of a little cheesy, but you know, most people aren't going to know the difference. Alright, so we have the H&K Usp here, and this is a pretty nice gun overall. It's mostly plastic, but it does have a nice weight to it, so it's got a weighty feel. A lot of that's due to this magazine that comes out, and we'll get more into that a little bit, but it's a very heavy, weighty magazine. But even without the magazine, the gun does have some weight. I like the fact that you know, it's got the sort of cutout here, even though it's not, none of these guns really are blowback. Slide doesn't move, it's plastic, but you know, if you look at this gun, even safety, we'll get into that a bit more later, it looks pretty realistic. Everything's in the right place, markings and everything. Even the nice little serial number, this is a separate piece. So it's a pretty nice looking gun, and overall pretty happy with it. Then we have the Smith & Wesson M&P, and this is probably the most plasticky gun out of all of them. It's really quite lightweight. There's really not much metal in this gun at all, with the exception of some internal parts in the magazine. We'll get into that, the magazine, a bit later, and we'll get into the sights a bit later as well. But it does kind of feel a little more toyish, this one. So you know, we'll talk more about some other things about the gun. This did do well in a couple areas. Okay, so let's get into I guess the replica side of things. So let's talk about that. This is a replica of the Makarov, and it's pretty close. And some nice things about it again is one thing I do like is everything's pretty good with the exception of the slide catch here that's molded in. Everything else is pretty much where it's supposed to be. So it's pretty good. Now it would normally have a bigger dropout magazine, but at least they've put the magazine release in the right place. It's pretty nice. It's even field strippable. I'm not going to take the time. This is not a full review of this gun entirely, but it is field strippable, and which is nice as well. And the slide does go back. There is no slide catch, unfortunately, but it does go back at least. So and even the cutout ejection port. It's a nice replica. It's got Makarov licensing and branding on it as well. So pretty decent. Here again, this is the Colt Defender. There probably isn't exactly a model like this, but it's a compact version of the Colt. And, I guess for the most part, things are kind of where they're supposed to be, even though a lot of the stuff doesn't function. It does look like a Colt quite nicely. It does have the Colt markings on it, here and obviously on the barrel in different places. The safety wouldn't be in this location. We'll talk a little bit more about safeties as well. The trigger would be different on the actual Colt. It would be like a one-piece trigger that you actually pull back. If you know the Colt style 1911 style guns, they have a different trigger setup. But a lot of the replicas go with this because it's easier to produce or manufacture these types of triggers. Rail on it, nice gun. Now this one, as far as replicas, I think is probably going to be the closest in terms of looks. It really looks like the real gun, and I don't own the gun, but I've seen pictures of it, and even with the way the magazine drops out and everything, and the safety, and even though the slide catch, I believe that's the slide catch on this gun. This one doesn't operate, but it looks like it does quite closely. This one also has a hammer that comes back, but it's not really functioning. It's mostly for show. Whereas the 1911, the Colt Defender, the hammer doesn't move at all. So there's some nice things. Get more into the sights and stuff later. Again, the whole slide, the way the slide is set up, and the way that you have the ejection port, it's actually separate from the slide. That's a nice touch. Okay, so we're back to the Smith & Wesson here. As far as a replica goes, I guess really the thing that I could say is it's a little shiny. The plastic's a little shiny, but it's a very inexpensive gun, and everything's in the right place. It does have all the right markings. Nothing really operates on it except for the trigger and the magazine release, and there's no ejection port cut out here. But that said, from a little bit of a distance, it looks like the real gun. Very closely. It's the right size. Everything's in the right place. This would make a really nice, in my opinion, if you're looking for like an inexpensive prop gun, so you're making a home movie or something, and you want something that looks pretty realistic, hey, this would probably be a good thing, with the exception of the actual safety here. It's pretty bang on. Alright, so we're going to get into the safeties now a little bit. We'll bring the Makarov back in, and this particular gun, the safety is on the side here. Now, unfortunately, to show this, my guns do have CO2 because I did a field test with them, and but I have checked to make sure that they're all empty of BBs. I'm not going to be pulling any triggers, and I'm going to keep them for the most part on safety. But to show you the safeties here, I'm going to actually have to do it. So the safety's in the right place, is the real Makarov. So that's nice. This gun's a little bit different than some of the other ones, and I like that. So, and the only thing is, I'm pretty sure that this is plastic, but that's okay. It's a nice gun, and I like that they put the safety in the right place. We'll go to the Colt. Now the Colt is using this typical safety, and you sort of push it down and move it. That's how you work it. You can't just push it. Typically the way they work is you push them in and then you slide them. So when it's red, it's ready to shoot, it's live, and then when it's white, you're basically in safety. So not in the right place, but it's a functional safety. Works very well. Now the H&K, again, it has the safety in the right place, which is nice. Very good. I like that they've done that, and it is plastic, like most of this gun, but it operates just fine, and it's nice that it's in the right place again. And lastly, the M&P, the Smith & Wesson, it's using a lot of the same sort of style safety that a lot of these Umarex guns implement into their air pistols, and it's not in the right place, but it's again very functional. Okay, let's get into the sights, and I know it's going to be a little bit blurry. looking at this because my camera doesn't autofocus, but this is sort of a quick review, so I don't want to spend a lot of time focusing and whatnot. But you can see here on the Makarov, the sights are fairly basic, but this is pretty much how the gun is, so don't get too caught up in it. There's no, like, you know, there's no fiber optics and there's no white paint on here, but that's just the way it is. They're fairly thin, but they actually work pretty good. And with the Colt Defender, not a bad sight setup. It's not adjustable, even though it kind of looks like it is. It's not. This is just molded in. You have the white dot on the front, no dots on the back, but it's fairly easy to line up and shoot. With the H&K, you have the white dots in front and the back, so that also helps you line it up. None of these sights on these guns are adjustable. But they do work, and you know, for the most part these guns shot fairly close. I'll be bringing the targets out that I shot at, that I did the short little field test, and you can take a look at the accuracy of these guns in a sec. Now, even though this is probably one of the cheaper, more plasticky guns, it has nice sights on it. It's got the white dot in the front, and then it's got the fiber optic in the back, so not too bad really. So that's sort of one feature that this gun has that the other guns don't have. So if you're into the sights, that might be a good thing for you. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the magazines. Again, this one has the dropout magazine release in the bottom, just like the original Makarov. It's a metal magazine, fairly easy to load. You pull that down to the bottom. One thing you have to do is you have to sort of put your finger on the one side there and load it like that, otherwise the BBs fall through. But it works fairly easy. Put that back in. Now, the Colt is the only gun that doesn't really have a dropout magazine. Which, you know, I guess there's pros and cons to that. You basically press the button, it gives you access to the CO2 tank, and on the other side you have, let me just get that open, you basically pull that down, there's a catch, and then you load the BBs in here. And it's nice because it's a nice open, like a funnel almost right here, allowing you to put the BBs in fairly quickly. And this gun holds 18. By the way, the Makarov also holds 18 BBs, so 18 BBs go in there. Then you just release that, and up it goes, and you're ready to go. Now, by far the nicest magazine on all these guns would be the H&K, and this is more like some of the airsoft guns that have these types of magazines. And basically you pull that down, load it up from the top, and then there's a little tab you push over to the side and it goes up. And it's a very heavy magazine, it's all metal, and it's really as close as you can get to the real type of magazine that you'd find in a gun like this. So this is definitely the nicest magazine. This gun holds 22 BBs. And lastly, we have the Smith & Wesson M&P, and it does have a dropout magazine, which is a nice feature. Very easy to load. You just basically pull that back, throw your BBs in there, and this gun holds 20 BBs. You just basically push the bottom there when you're done, and up goes the spring, and the BBs go to the top. Now, when I shot this gun, I had it loaded to the maximum BBs, and I found that it sort of misfired the first couple rounds. But once I got down to 18, it seemed to shoot. Now, it just might have been a break-in thing, I don't know. I haven't shot another magazine through it yet, so I don't know if maybe loading less BBs in this gun is going to be better for it. Something to take note on. Now, as far as these accessories go, most of these guns don't come with accessories, with the exception of the H&K here. It comes with a couple little things. You're going to need an accessory for the magazine. I didn't really touch upon that, but this magazine, when you're loading it, the CO2, you need to basically twist this to load it. And it also comes with basically this little clip on. I guess you could put it on your belt. It's a magazine loader. It's really easy to load it up either way, so I don't feel a need to use this at all personally. Now, just quickly, I want to go over loading CO2. I sort of touched upon it, but the CO2 goes in the magazine here. You load it from the bottom, and you use the tool on the H&K to load up the CO2. And again, on the Colt, you just basically pop it in here, and you have the twist tab here that you twist it up. This one was a little, I really had to work it to get this thing to seal at first, so I think maybe the seals needed breaking in, but it's fine now. The Makarov has, again, the twist style CO2. You load it in the handle. And the Smith & Wesson M&P, same style. You just basically load it up. You have the twist, and some of these are a little tight. Like this is a little tighter to get in here if you got big fingers, but still I was able to do it no problem. And there you go. Let's talk a little bit about the triggers on these guns, and they're all pretty much medium, I would say. The only gun that has single and double action is the Makarov, which is nice. So you actually can shoot it in single. I'm not going to shoot it because there's CO2 in it, or double action. So that's a bonus. All the other guns pretty much are a double action style only.
because you have to basically, what happens with these guns is when you pull the trigger, this little barrel actually extends a little bit. And what happens is when the barrel goes forward, it allows the BB to load, and then as it snaps back, that hits the CO2 release valve and the gun shoots. So it's like you're pre-charging the hammer, and then as you get to the break point, it releases the hammer after BB's loaded, and the hammer release activates the CO2 release, the CO2 valve, and the gun shoots. And that's the way most of these guns work. So the triggers have a little bit of weight to them because they're actually pulling the hammer back, which is the barrel coming out the end that is sort of the pseudo hammer in this case. And same with this gun, the barrel comes out a little bit out the front and then snaps back. And same with this gun too, same thing, barrel comes out the front, but you don't really see it on this one. The one you see it the most on though is you see the barrel coming out of this Colt because it's right there flush already. And even this one you'll see it come out a little bit, but with the H&K, because it's buried in there a little bit, you don't see it coming out, which is nice. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the targets and see how these guns did in the real world shooting environment. Now I shot these guns at about 20 feet out, just shy, so 19 to 20 feet is what I measured it. And this is the Colt here. This is, I'll put this up here so we can kind of see it a little bit. Oh, there we go. And you can see it's not a bad little group. This is just standing free shooting. I wasn't using any rests or anything. I was just shooting, you know, about 2 seconds between the shots and aiming, you know, fairly consistently. So it's about a 2-inch group, and this is at 20 feet. That's not too bad. And then we have the H&K. Now this gun shot a little bit high. You can see it was shooting a little bit high here from where I was sighting it in, but it's pretty close. It's a nice group, another 2-inch group I'd say, right there. And so not too bad. Again, 20 feet I was shooting this at. And this is the target for the Makarov, and you can see here it did quite a nice little grouping. It shot here, I'd say maybe 1.5 inches, and if this one flyer wasn't there, it would have been almost close to 1 inch grouping, and very tight. And it was a little bit to the right of the target, but it was fairly close. I'm sure with some just slight adjustments, I wouldn't have any problem shooting you know, cans all day with this gun, no problem. Now I did shoot this in single action because this was the only gun that had that feature, so I figured, hey, you know, if you're going to put that feature in there, that's how I'm going to test it. And lastly, let's take a look at the plasticky, cheesy Smith & Wesson here, M&P. Take a look at this grouping. I mean, it kind of startled me. So it really was the best shooter here. I had one up here, and you know, there's always human factors to put in here. You never know. I mean, I'm just freestand shooting. But this did about a 1-inch group, and they're all like almost in a line here. So I had some horizontal variance, but it was very consistent in the trajectory. So that could be something to do with consistency of velocity, or just may have been me. You never know. But it shot really well, and it surprised me. So hey, if you want an accurate, inexpensive gun that has nice sights and looks pretty much like the real gun, but you're not worried about, you know, the build quality as much, the plastic side of it, then this wouldn't be that bad. Okay, so that about sums up this comparison review of these Umarex low-cost BB CO2 BB guns. And hopefully that gives you some ideas. Now I do plan at some point to do individual reviews on these guns, maybe a little bit more in depth, although I did cover quite a bit in this review. I may go into some more details and, like, for instance, you know, field strip the Makarov and things like that. So anyways, these guns, I did purchase them from Airgun Source, and so I just wanted to mention that. We do also have some of these guns available through our Replica Airgun store. So make sure to check out these guns. If you're thinking of purchasing one, go to the place that you buy guns and pick one up. They all have some pros and cons to them, but in the $50 to $70 price range, they're not bad guns. So thanks again for watching one of my Replica Airgun reviews. And don't forget to come down to the website and check out some of the other articles and more in-depth reviews in text form at replicaairguns.com. Take care.